Disney Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. It's Disney's newest Bahamian paradise. We're giving it the DCL Show's best and worst treatment today. What do we love? And what was not so much our favorites? That's coming up on the DIS Unlimited's DCL Show. Hello and welcome to the DIS Unlimited's DCL Show. I'm Chris Vorabek, one of the agents at Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. The DIS Unlimited team, well, we got to cruise on the Disney Fantasy, and we've been breaking these different parts of this trip down for you. Well, we got to discuss traveling we got to travel with 3-year-old Owen. It was really awesome, but we had so much that we learned. We actually broke it into 2 shows. You can find those, including the big question, 5:45 or 8:15 dining. Yeah, we discussed that. And we did the best and worst treatment for the Disney Fantasy. Well, today we're going to do the best and worst of one of our ports of call. It was Disney Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. And I'm so lucky. We're going to talk about this amazing space. You can tell I'm more on the best side, but look at who's joining me. I got to travel. We have a full house today. It's awesome. Joining me is my colleague, Dreams Unlimited travel agent, Elaine Edwards. Hello, Elaine. Hi, friends. Dreams. I got a text from somebody, one of my clients, who said, "I love Elaine on this show." So you have a fan club, Elaine. Dreams Unlimited travel agent, and one of the people behind our Spanish site, Disney, Federico Argar. Hello, Federico.
Hola, hola. How are you?
The DIS Unlimited's Chloe Fiera. You get to see her on the DIS Unlimited shows, of course, Disney, Universal. She writes for DCL Fan, UO Fan. I mean, Chloe, do you ever sleep?
I do find time once in a while, yes.
Oh, good. I was worried. I was reading all the stuff you're doing, and particularly there's a couple of things happening at Universal these days. So I was like, oh my goodness, I need to worry about her sleep schedule. And of course, the DIS and DCL Fan senior editor, Jackie Gailey, she's all over doing also. She was just before we started, she was busy getting stories up. So Jackie, thanks so much for being here. Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here.
And of course, we have our amazing producer, Jimmy Valdez. Jimmy, he got to cruise with us too. Sometimes we haven't been able to get him to pipe in yet, but we'll see if he does on this show. Jimmy makes us all look so pretty. Hello, Jimmy.
Here I am. Hello.
Thank you all for being here. As I say, a full house. It's great. Before we dive in, as they used to say, a word from our sponsor, this show, along with everything we do at the DIS Unlimited, DCL Fan. It's all brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. We are experts at helping you plan a magical Disney cruise, a visit to an amazing Disney theme park, your Universal adventure. Chloe, anything happening at Universal these days? We need to see some coverage of that. They got to go through the new park. And by booking your Disney cruise with Dreams Unlimited Travel, you get a shipboard credit of up to $1,000, depending on the price of your cruise. I know they always say nothing's for free, right? But this is one of these cases where you get free money to spend on board, and it costs you nothing. Not bad. Best way to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And I always do this just by way of transparency. We like to be honest with you folks. We got to cruise on the Disney Fantasy, and we paid for this cruise. We were paying guests. So there are itineraries where Disney does host us. Many of us got to do a preview cruise on the Disney Treasure, and Disney hosted us. But I see people all the time out there who scoff and think that somehow influences what we say. It doesn't really, but we paid for this one. So we put our Dreams hard-earned money down. And second, yes, many of us are Dreams Unlimited travel agents. This is our job, but we really love Disney. We love Disney Cruise Line. We love Universal. We want you to have the best time possible. Our job, both here on this and these podcasts and as agents, is to give you the information so you can make the best decision for you and your family. And we hope you with Dreams allows us to do this podcast. But if you don't, we hope you have an amazing trip. So enough of all that. I think we got all our points covered. Good. Before we get to the best and worst, I'd like to just review what cruise we did. The DIS Unlimited team got to do a 5-night Bahamian cruise on the Disney Fantasy, leaving from Port Canaveral. Our scheduled itinerary included Nassau, Disney Castaway Cay. We didn't get to do that one, but because of weather, we'll talk about that in another episode. But we did get to stop at Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. And a quick overview of Disney Lookout Cay. This is the second of 2 Bahamian private destinations. It's located on the southern tip of the Bahamian island of, Elaine?
Eleuthera.
There, she did it. She had the hardest time with that. Now she's just the rock star, the Eleutheran rock star. Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. It's a long title, but the destination officially welcomed guests in 2024, and it's become a staple of a number of itineraries. The 5-night Bahamian itinerary on the Disney Fantasy includes both Disney destinations. And actually, on another show, we asked, what should we call when it stops at both Disney destinations? You guys can tell me what you think of these. Rebecca suggested the Double Bubble. A. Willow suggested the Island Hopper. Rich suggested Dippity Duo. Suestro, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Sorry about that. Double, he wrote Dougal Dipper. I think he meant Double Dipper. Keith said Private Island Hopper. But my favorite was Disney Dave. He said KK, which I like that one. That one's cute. Anyway, the DIS Unlimited team has a whole lot on the Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point on DCLfan.com, and we will put together and include a lot of those so you can see. But today we're giving people the best and worst treatment. So I thought how we do this is just go around the table and everyone can suggest their best. We'll do a round of best, and then we'll do a round of worst. And I have a list of things that I want to make sure we cover, and we can say whether they're best and worst. But Elaine, I'm going to let you start. Give me a best. What did you like best? What do you like best about Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point?
Yes, one of the very first things when people ask me, do you like Lookout Cay? Do you like it better than Castaway? All of that. The very first thing that I always say is the water and the sand are 1,000 times better. The water at Lookout Cay is so crystal clear, turquoise. It is absolutely gorgeous. The temperature is always a nice, perfect, cool temperature, and the sand feels like powder. It is
like
so
walking
clear.
On clouds. Oh,
right,
lovely.
Right. And then when I'm at Castaway, it's always been very, very rocky, especially if you're on Serenity Bay, both on the sand and in the water. And you've got all kinds of seaweed on you and all kinds of stuff. So I 1,000% love the water and the sand at Lookout. It is top notch.
I figure everyone's going to want to comment on the beach because the beach is just absolute. It's an A+ beach. Chloe, what did you? I know you love this beach too.
I do. Really quick though, I wanted to jump on the idea for the double dip itinerary.
Oh yeah.
Because KK, it's actually like Kiki because Castaway Cay and Lookout Cay, and it's also a play on the slang term Kiki, which is like a social gathering. So I think that's genius. Kiki is really cute.
I thought I told him I thought he did a great job. So maybe we'll just call it the Kiki Stops.
The Kiki. Yeah, the beaches are beautiful. I first stopped at Lookout on the preview cruise, or it was the very first stop that Disney Cruise Line ever had at the new island. And I was really excited to go back and see what the improvements were, if there's any more shade, if there are any more plants growing in. And to my surprise, there were. The largest part of my best, though, is the beach. The water, the sand, the natural environment. It is just gorgeous there. I just want to spend all my time in the water, and this last time I did. Another highlight, though, for me is the soft serve is super creamy and just a lot better than my soft serve experience at Castaway Cay, to give my ice cream fans some love, because I can't wait to go back and just have another chocolate soft serve on Lookout Cay.
Jackie, do you have any comments on the beach, or give us another best?
Oh, so that was my best part of it, of Lookout Key, was the sand felt like butter. And I am so my feet are really sensitive because I grew up in Washington and we didn't run around barefoot here growing up. So the bottoms of my feet happen to be super sensitive. And those my sandals came right off, and I loved having my toes in the sand there. It was just so soft and just luxurious to me. And of course, the crystal clear water is incredible. So I remember the first time years ago when I saw crystal clear water at Castaway Cay for the first time, and I couldn't believe it. This experience was similar to that, because I couldn't believe how much more clear the water was at Lookout Key. It was amazing. And
It was
yeah.
interesting. I did Palo Note, the preview, the first night thing up in Palo, where you get to wine taste. And there was a person there who said, I'd never seen blue water before, and that's part of my goal. So he was really disappointed that we didn't get to do Castaway. But when he saw this water, he said, oh my goodness, you almost want to pinch yourself and say, that cannot be real water. This is it's like a painting. It's so amazing.
It is. Yeah, it looks like all the things that you see on postcards and travel magazines, and you can't believe that you're physically there looking at it, because it's just so magnificent.
Yeah. Federico, for me, the sand, and I'm like Jackie, I don't walk around barefoot very often. So even when it's hot on this beach, you're not doing the chop, 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 hopping, because the sand's so hot. I don't know what sand they use and what they've done, but that sand is just I want to sleep there. It's just like gorgeous. How do you feel about the beach?
It's called Caribbean sand. Chris. So yeah, I agree with the nature is just beautiful, but I'm from the Caribbean, so I'm used to seeing this type of colors in the water. Of course, I love them, but for me, I'm gonna add something different. The best thing about the island is the design and the cultural and artistic approach that Disney did on this one. We were able to go to Lighthouse Point on the preview cruise as well, and Disney. We were able to attend interviews with the Imagineers, and they told us about the way they design, and they collaborated with different artisans and artists from the Bahamas to really capture the spirit of their culture and their tradition, and with all the details, the colors, the infrastructure, the way they relate to nature, and the dances, the music, the food. So I think it's for me at least is something that makes it different with Castaway Cay. This cultural approach that they did, and it gives the island something very unique, and that is for me something that I appreciate a lot that Disney did on this one in particular.
I'm going to piggyback on yours, because one of my favorite things is they have two things that they do there that involve characters, but one of them is the Junkanoo. And if you don't know the Junkanoo is actually on the historic list of historic things. It's not just the Bahamian thing, but the Bahamas does it big. And they have a Junkanoo parade on the island that is just done in a very culturally wonderful way, with Mickey and Minnie and other characters dressed in their Bahamian outfits, designed by a Bahamian designer, and it is such a fun part, and it again makes it very different, and kind of embraces this Bahamian aspect. I think it's super fun. I'm so glad they did it. I hope they keep doing it. But I think it goes along with, as you say, they even have a place where you can make a Junkanoo mask. And of kids, I saw adults doing it. And they're teaching you about Bahamian culture and how they do this. Really, really awesome. Anyone else
Even
have comments about
even
kind of the
when
cultural
you
aspect? Yeah, go.
even when you walk the infamous pier, that I'm
Yeah,
sure we're gonna talk about it on the worst. They put music there that was made and even created by local musicians. And the director of this project was a teacher from one of the universities of music in the Bahamas, and
yeah,
he was talking about how these students, when they first hear themselves, the music that they played and that they created on this pier, they got emotional and cried. So it's something that maybe you don't pay attention to when you're just going to one place to another, but it's something that had worked, and it was thought on the design process, and I think that is very, very cute.
awesome. One little pro tip that I'll give you is if you're looking around when you're at the destination and you're looking for, okay, which of the buildings, by the way, are also done. One kind of looks like a turtle, and they have a very, very natural feel to them. If you're looking for a bathroom, look for the pointy buildings. All the ones with the points are the ones that have bathrooms in them. So a little pro tip as you're just visually looking for where bathrooms are. But anyone else have cultural aspects that they want to add? Otherwise, I'm going to go to Jackie for another best.
I have a cultural
Yeah,
aspect
go.
to add. One of the things that I noticed, and it kind of goes along with what Federico said, that when we were there again on the preview cruise, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and when they were starting the Junkanoo parade, I happened to be right there where they were like coming out. And this was the first time that they had performed this on this island in front of a bunch of visitors, and I could see the performers and their faces, and you could just tell they were so proud of what they were doing, and it made me even very emotional, and I know I had a huge smile on my face just seeing them and how happy and how proud that they were showing off their culture, which is, I loved it, absolutely loved it.
And they also have, in addition to the Disney merchandise, I'm wearing my Spirit jersey, but they also have a place where they sell stuff from the island of Eleuthera, and they even sell like these wicker bags that have Disney characters in them. It's a fun way of embracing the culture and bringing this island right to this space, including it as part of this space. So. Jackie, any comments or give us your next best?
Yeah, so I also watched, there was a recent show that debuted on Disney Plus that talked a lot about the culture of the island and why they did
Yeah.
a lot of the things that they did, and I learned a lot about it, and I thought it was really cool to watch it after I had visited the island, because then I was like, oh, that's some of the things that they did, like they didn't want to disturb underneath the water, where the ship would dock. And so that's why the ship is so far out. And they went over, they had Imagineers on there, and I should have made some notes on that actually. But it was just really cool that they did the island and they built everything with such respect for what was there already. And they wanted to just intrude as little as possible. And I just think that that's just the coolest thing. So,
Yeah. No, they did. Yeah, they did an amazing job. Yeah. But did you have another best, or was that your best? That was the environmental
um,
aspect.
that's really my
Awesome.
best. That's the
Perfect.
other one.
Chloe, give us another best.
Mm, I mean, I kind of hit on it earlier too, and Jackie just did with the small eco footprint that they had with the island. I just love the natural setting. There's like a walking path, and it leads out to like the far end of one of the beaches, and that is such a cool nature walk that is just untouched, and it's really beautiful to take in. I also really just want to go back to the water again if I can, because I know we touched on it earlier, but I honestly, that's my biggest highlight is just sitting in the water and taking in the crystal clear water and snorkeling. There's a really cool snorkeling area, is specifically in Serenity Bay. There's a whole reef. I know there's one on the family beaches as well. But I spent my whole day last time at Serenity Bay, and it was really quiet. It was tucked away. So if you aren't traveling with kids, or if your kids are in the kids club, definitely go check out Serenity Bay. I honestly prefer it over Castaway Keys, and I'm really surprised to say that, just because it was so relaxing. There were plenty of loungers with umbrellas, so you could stay in the shade. You can go play in the water, and then during the hours, I forget the hours, but there was buy one get one free drinks from the bar, and they have bartenders traveling the beach areas as well. So we had a great time.
And there at the dining place they had live music playing, which was
Yes.
I love live music, so like it's like sold, but it was
It
great to
adds
have
a
somebody
whole
there
nother
playing music. It was so fun.
Absolutely. It adds a whole nother layer of just authenticity and just energy to the area when there's live music rather than a track playing. But yeah, I totally agree.
I'm going to do a controversial one. How's this? I'm going to do a hot take. Um, I'm putting the pier on my best list because, and here's why. Yes, the pier is long. I think it's visually longer than it is in actuality. You see that pier and you go, oh my God, we're going to be walking for 10 years. It's not, it's about a 12-minute walk. It's not that bad. But A, it protects the environment, but B, just up the ways, and when we were there, there was a Princess cruise ship that was tendering people back and forth between the island. And so if we didn't have the pier, we would be tendering into Lookout Key. And anyone who's done tendering, you know that A, it doesn't always happen, because if there's heavy winds and ships are bouncing back up and down, it can be really hard to tender, particularly for those people who are on scooters or have some kind of so I actually appreciate, I haven't seen, while we got canceled on our cruise going into Lookout Key, I haven't seen any itineraries where, Castaway Key. I haven't seen any itineraries where Lookout got canceled because of the way that the pier is located. So I actually think I kind of like the pier, and it gives, there are advantages that come to it. But I know we'll talk about it in the worst. Anyone else have a quick worst thing before we move on? A quick best thing before we move on to some worst?
I have a best thing.
Good, go.
So, and to comment on your thing about the pier, I agree with you that everybody looks at it and thinks that it's this big thing, and I think yes, it's long, but I think part of it is the illusion and the way that it's docked. Because if you look at, and I actually, when we got back the first time we visited, I went through and looked at measurements and stuff. When you are on Castaway Key and you get off the ship, you are still walking a very, very long way in order to get to the tram or even to get to the first beach. It just doesn't look the same way because you're walking along the ship and along all of those, rental things and that kind of thing. It's actually, if you look at the measurements, they're pretty close to each other in measurements. So, but for my other best, I want to mention about the excursions. Because with the excursions, because this is Lookout Key on Lighthouse Point on the island of Eleuthera, there is a whole nother part of the island. This is only a very small piece of it. And, there are cities and towns and people live there and all of that. And so they are actually offering excursions that you can go out into those areas and away from the actual Lookout Key. And so there are some really, really cool excursions that are available that you can see more of that cultural history, nature experiences. So that kind of gives you something different if you don't necessarily want to sit on the beach all day.
Yeah. No, and it is. I mean, people keep calling it a private island. It's not a private island. It's a private destination on the island of Eleuthera. I know we're getting into technicalities here, but there are. I think they're going to eventually. They haven't had them yet. When we were there, I asked, and they're going to add bikes. But I think they're still doing the bike trails. So that's what I think the holdup is on that. But there's other things to do besides just sitting on the beach. So, Jackie, give us one. I know you have a worse that you're just dying to get off your chest. So,
well, yeah, and I feel it's kind of hard for me. I feel bad because
it's
the
okay. You're
island
in a
is
safe
gorgeous.
place. You're okay.
I know. I'm just like, it's so beautiful that it takes away the beauty takes away the hard part of it. And I think if you're prepared, then you're going to be fine. So the bottom line is that for me, I didn't feel like there was enough shade on the island at all. And so you guys can tell how fair skinned I am. And sun is a big thing. Now, I always bring a huge brim sun hat on a cruise every time.
There were
So I
families living
always,
underneath that hat. It was good size.
yeah, I mean, you have to. And so I had that, and so that was fine. But you need shade, and you're walking a lot in the out right out in the open sun. And so I couldn't wait to get to the beach where I could get in a chair and be under an umbrella and just, go take a dip and then come back out and sit in that chair in the shade. Well, because of the winds and how high they were, the crew members had all of the umbrellas closed on the beach, and they were not allowed to be open at all.
Yeah,
And
they were coming
so,
by and telling people who put them up. They were coming by and saying, "No, no, no, you need to put those
no,
down."
no. Yep, they have to be closed because it's too windy for them to be open. And for me, that is a big problem because I'm not the kind of a person who enjoys sitting on a beach just baking in the sun. That does absolutely nothing for me. And I realize that I might not, be in the majority of folks who are going on a cruise to go to a beach, but I enjoy taking a dip and then sitting with an umbrella over me and a lovely cocktail. That's my idea of a amazing beach day. And so I was really disappointed that I couldn't find anywhere to just sit down and absorb that gorgeous water and just everything about it and be comfortable in a shaded area.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time with that. I had a really hard time with that
I
because it
I
affected
think they
everything.
had the umbrellas open. So there's beach seating, where you're like sitting right on the beach, and then there's a berm, and then there's seating that's kind of inside the berm, inside kind of there's a word for it, but I'm not remembering it. But in that inner area, which is closer to the bathrooms, closer to the dining and all that kind of stuff, I think they had the umbrellas open there, but then you kind of feel disconnected from the beach, right? It's over a sandbar, and you can barely see it, so it feels a little different. It doesn't really feel like you're at the beach to me. You want to
Yeah,
be near the
that is,
beach.
yeah, yeah,
So
that
it
was,
was
I saw those, but I was like, but then I'll be blocked and I won't be able to see all the things I want to see.
right, exactly. It's definitely different. So, Chloe, give us a worst.
All right. This might be a hot take. I'm not sure. I know
There you
we've been
go.
talking about, the natural beauty of Lookout Key, and it feels very different from Castaway Key in some good ways. But the biggest standout for me that I don't know if it will ever be improved is it doesn't. Let me go back a little bit. Besides the character kind of cavalcade that happens, it doesn't feel like a Disney private island to me. I know we have cast members working the food stations, and great service all around, and it's a nice relaxing beach. But honestly, once the cast members are gone off the island, there is very little evidence that it's a Disney owned private area of an island. And to be honest, like I miss that branding a lot. I don't feel like there's any hidden Mickeys anywhere. I think there was one inside one of the gift shops, the Disney gift shop. There's no hidden Mickeys. There's no like, I don't know, just like little touches of Disney that you would find like at Castaway Cay. I like the original characters that they incorporated. There's like the little sand crab, and there's the little the is it an iguana or a lizard? There's like little statues around, and they have that carry through the tram audio. But I don't know. I just feel like if Disney wanted to, they could rent out the space to a different cruise line. It would all be okay. They would just like not have the characters come out. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I feel like it's just missing that oomph that of the Disney branding that we all love when we go on a Disney cruise, that we're so used to surrounding ourselves with the characters and the stories and the little touches. And I feel like Disney, they have the capacity to create, you know, a fine balance of the natural beauty of Eleuthera and bringing in their characters in ways that kind of are just like little touches. I don't know if they're going to add more eventually or anything, but yeah, that's one of my worst for me.
They do have those different, and I'm pointing to my Spirit jersey, so if you're not watching on YouTube, but they have these kind of, the backgrounds that you can take photos in front of. I'm a little bit surprised they don't have, those aren't character photos, so have Mickey in front of Mickey. They have them for Minnie and all of the characters.
Too, but don't those kind of seem kind of temporary? Like if they wanted to, they could tuck them away into a storage area. Like they don't feel like they're part of the islands. Like you know, Mount Rustmore in Castaway Cay is like the most iconic photo location, right? I just feel like it's kind of like a pop-up Disney experience. It doesn't feel like it's a home Disney environment. I don't know if that makes sense. But.
Yeah, it's definitely a very different, I think it's a good point. Federico, what's one of your worst?
For me, is the location of one of the the cabanas.
Amen.
The first you get when you like get on the island, in the island. I don't understand that location. I think it's just, if you're paying that money, you should be able to at least like walk to where all the things are happening. And I don't understand that.
So let's talk about it for a minute, because just so folks know, you walk the pier, you then come to a place where you then take a tram to basically the other side of the island. It's about a 7-10 minute tram ride, and that's where the shop is, the main family beach. It's where the adult beach is. It's where the hiking for most everything is over after the tram ride. They have a whole set of cabanas that are, you can literally see them from the ship when you're docked, that are right at the end of the pier. And those are the family cabanas. And they do have a lovely beach. I got one of the cabanas one of the times I was at they're lovely, they're gorgeous. They have their own eating place. They have they have a dining place. They have, it's very nice. It's much more quiet. You do not have real shopping. You do not have like the Junkanoo is over on the other part. The kids club is over on the other part. And they do have adult. Here's my question, and I keep hoping that somebody at Disney will explain it to me. The adult, it feels like that's where the adult cabana should be, where it's kind of more quiet, and the family should be over on the family, which is closer to the family beach. But I'm sure there's a reason why they did it that way. I just don't. I don't get it. I agree with you, Federico. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
See,
like
that
I
was
imagine
my
someone with a small kid, like the small kid saying, "I want to play in the kids area," and you will be like, "Oh, well, I just lost the money that I paid for this cabana, because I'm gonna have to go there and spend a lot of time going there." And then coming back, and it doesn't make sense. So yeah, that I think for me it was hard to find a worse thing about the island, but I think that was is not as great.
I will tell you that they do bring characters over to those family cabanas, so you can there will be a character visit. Minnie came over when I was on the family cabanas, but it's a different. As I say, I hope somebody from Disney will eventually reach out to us and let us know why they did that. I'm sure there's a reason why. I just am always having trouble wrapping my head around why it's that way, but. Anyone else have a comment about that stuff?
I just wanted to say that was another one of my things, was how far away the kids' play area was from the rest of it. Yeah, I agree with that too. Totally agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't put this in it's not really a best or worst, but just so you know, the kids, they do have Castaway. If you're used to the kids being able to go into the slide and plosh in the water in the beach, there's nothing like that that's in the water. They do have a whole kids a bunch of slides and all sorts of stuff, but it is on more inland, not inland, but it's not on the beach. It's not in the water, in the beach water. And then they have a whole kids club area that is lovely. But you leave your kids there. It's like the kids club on board. It's not, parents don't go in there. So just so you're aware of both of those things. I think we do need to talk about, because I put it in the best category, but I think we also need to put it in the worst, because the pier thing, it is the thing that we get the most complaints and concern about, at least I do, is the length of that pier. And it is a walk. Bunch of folks have said that they wish they had some kind of awnings on it or something like that. I think a lot of the reasons for that is hurricanes, frankly. If you had awnings on there, guess what? Those are just going to be ripped apart and ripped to shreds. So they have done a number of things where there are places to stop along the way to either get photos. They have a water station halfway down, things like that. And they've gotten much more organized in how they get people with disabilities, and they now have all these kind of red wagons for kids. You can get a red wagon. They are bringing them back all the time. At least when I was watching, and I was sitting from my cabin, from my stateroom afterwards and watching, and they were bringing those back all the time, back and forth. So people had them. I didn't ever see a spot where somebody was saying, "Oh, I don't have one." So I see a lot of concern about that, and I think they're very aware of that. At most, you may have to wait a couple minutes as they're transporting them, but they have a lot of them, so that's very helpful. And I think it's visually much longer than it is in reality. And as Elaine said, she went and you did the good work and measured it. I don't think it's any longer. If you're walking to the far side of the family beach on Castaway, I don't think it's any longer than that. So it looks worse than it is, but it is definitely it's daunting when you first get to the location and you see that. It looks like, oh my God, I'm going to be walking to the end of the earth. So just be aware that it's not as bad as it looks. So, anyone else have anything else they have to add, or else I'm going to do a couple of topics and we'll do best and worst on these topics. But if anyone else has things they want to bring up.
I have two worsts that I can put on. One of them is, I think it's a little bit confusing as far as just navigating it, because you can't just turn and walk out onto the beach. They have these elevated boardwalks, which does make it very easy to walk around. They're very nice, especially being able to hold on the handrails and that kind of thing. There's ramps, that kind of stuff. But you can only use a boardwalk. And so there have been times that I could see where I wanted to go, but I couldn't figure out how to get there because there was no actual straight path to get there. So I would recommend before you get there, get one of the maps of it and save it to your phone or print it out or something like that, so that you can just kind of be able to easily see, okay, I want to go eat food. Where is the food?
Yep.
I want soft serve ice cream. Where is the ice cream? How do I get there from here? So I think that's one of my worst. And the other one is the disappointment in the size of the lighthouse. If you are going to call something Lighthouse Point, I expected a lighthouse, and it was a lighthouse. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I have something too. Going off of what Elaine just said, both of those things I feel like they could incorporate Disney branding into those, because the navigational system is very small. I think I found like one or two different signs, but they're so small, like you have to like walk right up on them, and I feel like they could really benefit from some clear, precise signs telling you where to go for the different eateries, for beach access, for ice cream, for the activity center, for the shops, and add a little hidden Mickey somewhere in that, or add another one of like the original characters into that, and then oh my goodness, what was the other thing you just said, Elaine? The second part,
The
the
lighthouse.
Yeah, again, going back to like they didn't want to alter their footprint, their eco footprint too much, but they could have made maybe a little bit more of a weenie of a lighthouse to draw you in, and it was maybe it had like some bright colors and some Disney characters incorporated into it or something to make it distinctly Disney. The other thing I wanted to say about the boardwalk, the pathways, they are vast. Like they go around things, and they're not very clear with like which direction you're going, and it's almost too obvious that there was supposed to be pools or like cool off areas in between some of those walkways. Like there's supposed to be steps or ramps down into those pits of what's now grown in with plants, but there's like these big sanded areas that in the concept art for one of the original Lookout Key, there were supposed to be pools in the areas of the sanded areas. And I don't know, I feel like they could really benefit from that too, because there isn't a whole lot of shade, and so at least people could cool off in water in those areas, because now we're just walking around these huge pits of sand for what, I feel like it's apparently noticeable, especially when you look at the old concept art. So maybe one
I
day.
spent a bunch of years early on in my life living in New Hampshire, and they have a phrase, you can't get there from here. And I sometimes with those things, like, okay, I want to get over there, and you can't get there from here. So it kind of feels like that. So you do have to plot your way. And of course, we have a map on our, if you go to DCL Fan and go to the Lookout Point page, we have a map, and you can download it to your phone so you have it, put it in your photos or whatever, so you can find your way around. And so it is. Navigation is a little bit challenging. That's why I always point out the pointed buildings. That's where you find the bathrooms. I wanted to touch on food and kind of break down food best and worst, because here's what I'll say is I'll do both the best and worst. Best, I think the food is a little bit broader than it is on Castaway Cay. They have more options. They have different things. I like it a little bit better. In worst, I found you can get into, they have just like Castaway Cay, they have two places for lunch, and then they have the adult area for dining. What I found is that one of the two non-adult places is jam-packed, and lines are like incredible. It's like, okay, what are they giving away at the front of this line? If you just go to the other one, it tends to be a lot less. And frankly, I think it's True 2 is the one that's farther away from a lot of the kids' stuff. And so it tends to be a little bit worse. So maybe meander over to there, and you can find fewer lines. And at least I'll ask Chloe about this, because she spent more time over at the adult area than I did. I didn't see huge lines over there, but I crowd management feels a little clunky to me. But Chloe, what was it like when you had lunch over at the adult section?
So we originally intended to want to go and cover the first location, the True barbecue. And there was a cast member kind of ahead of the entrance or along the pathway to that. And she noticed that we were a group of adults, and she was like, you guys will want to go over to the Serenity Bay area. It's a lot more crowded over here. And I thought that was really great that they had someone stationed there to kind of notice that, because you couldn't see True from the walkway until basically you're approaching the food area and you saw the hordes of people over there. So we actually waited out the line anyway because we wanted to experience the family one, and I went to Serenity Bay later in the afternoon. But I've heard from other experiences and from my time later in the afternoon as well that Serenity Bay is far less busy than the other two family barbecues. But yeah, the original True barbecue is, I feel like, in the most prominent spot, and you want to kind of taper off to the True 2. I think I said that right. And then the Serenity Bay barbecue, since they're a little less busy. And the Serenity Bay one is where I found the really creamy ice cream. So
yeah,
awesome.
Federico, food, best and worst food for us.
Best for me, especially compared to Castaway Cay. I like that they have more options, not only barbecue, but they have different rice options, like things that looked more cultural to what you, I mean, I have never eaten in the Bahamas, but I think more Caribbean in my opinion than Castaway Cay, so I like that. So yeah, I mean, it's not a food that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, like it may happen with Palo at the ship, but I think it was good.
Yeah, no, I agree. Elaine, did you have any food stuff that you wanted to chime in on?
So I don't feel like I'm qualified to make any comment about food because I did not eat either time that I have been to Lookout Cay. I think I have it in my head before I get off the ship, it's going to be so long until lunchtime. You need to fill up before you go to the island. So I always have a big breakfast before I get off the ship. And then it's like an hour later, it's time for lunch. And I just wasn't hungry. So Federico can attest to the fact that I sat there with him and Jimmy and just watched them eat. So, but I do like that they do have so many other options that, as you guys said, and both times I have not experienced any lines at all. You can just walk up to any of the windows and there were plenty of places to sit, because I do think I was not at the first one. I think once you get past it, it's very easy to get away from those crowds. So,
and also, if a lot of us do parks often, you don't 12 to like 1:30 is a heavy time. Go before or go after, and you should be able to. But be sure and pay attention to time, because they close. They will close. So, Jackie, food comments.
I am glad to know about the further out True 2 barbecue, because I had an issue where there weren't lines to get food, but I couldn't find a place to sit to save my life. Like it was rough. I stood there with my tray for probably 15 minutes, and I even went to a couple of the other areas to see if I could find, tables in the other. I think there were 5 different separated places where you could go, and that was rough. Finding a place to sit was really tough, but that's great to know that further down it's not quite so much.
The other thing that I will include, and it's not worst, it's the nature of the location, but having to walk the pier and then get on a tram and go to the other side feels like a pain in the neck to me. Now, they've done an amazing job. The trams are very efficient, certainly much improved from when we did the preview cruise, when it was madhouse. So we didn't have to wait at all. I found it very, very efficient. It's just a pain in the neck, frankly, to have to then get on a tram. And if you have strollers, you're folding up your strollers to get on those trams. They've done a great job with the tram, and they have audio recording of these 2 characters that they've created. One's a salamander, I think. I forget what they are, but they're cute and telling you about the nature that's at Lookout Key. Why they don't have characters like stuffies made of those characters that they sell in the gift shop is beyond me. They could make them so cute, and I think people would be nuts for them. So they've done a good job of using that time to explain more about the nature of the island and of the destination and the island. It's another level. One of the nice things about Castaway Key is you walk right to the beach and plop down, and it adds a level of complexity that you don't have on Castaway. So it's one of the things that I would put on the list. Anyone else have anything else that's either best or worst? Anything we didn't cover that we should have? Oh my goodness, the quiet means that I guess we covered everything. Look at that. Well, I will say I agree with Federico, and I think most of us, I think, would all give thumbs up to this destination. They did a great job. Is it perfect? No, nothing is, but it is certainly a magical, spectacular place to go and just enjoy that beach and step on that sand and enjoy that water. It is really, really fantastic. So enjoy. Any other closing thoughts from anybody? Oh, look at that. They're all quiet. It's good when we all get a group that's quiet. Awesome. With that said, Chloe, Jackie, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. As I noted, several of us are Dreams Unlimited travel agents. We'd love for you to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Literally, it helps us pay for what we do here. And I'll tell you, I was a Dreams Unlimited Travel client before I became an agent, so I understand the value. Best place to start, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. You select your cruise, the date, and all that kind of stuff. On the second page, there's a pull-down menu of all the Dreams agents. You can select one, or you don't have to. All of them are super awesome. So that's the best way to get started. That will give us all the information we need to then reach out to you and give you some options and how you can move forward. But if you want to get in touch with one of us, Elaine Edwards, how do the people get in touch with you?
Yes. So my email is Elaine, ELAINE at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And Federico, how do people get in touch with you?
My email is Federico, FEDERICO at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, both English and Spanish, of course.
Awesome. And we have a bunch of Spanish-speaking agents. So if that's your preferred language, please reach out to one of those agents, and they can connect you. Well, we can all connect you with them, but they're all great. So, and Chloe and Jackie. Chloe first she's been up to. You've been universaling just for the last couple of weeks. It's a lot of stuff going on at that other location. It's been really exciting to watch.
Yeah, Disney and Universaling for sure.
Yeah,
my life.
Yeah, I know a lot. There's so much going on right now. It's so exciting. And of course, Jackie is overseeing our DCL fan, DCLfan.com, amongst so many other things. So, Jackie, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And if you want to reach me, I'm Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Yes, there's another Chris, so it's Chris V for Vorbeck, Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. If you want to show ideas, we're always looking for good things that, hey, I would love to know about this. Let us know. And thank you so much for joining us. And of course, special thanks to our producer, Jimmy Valdez. Jimmy, you were quiet again. You managed to not say anything.
I didn't have anything to add.
We covered it all.
You were great. You were all great with what you said.
I was there with Jimmy, and he was having a great time, let me tell you. Depending on where you're watching us or hearing this, please like, subscribe, give us a review. It really does help us. There's these things called algorithms, and it really makes a difference in what we do. I don't fully understand it. I'm not smart enough, but it's true. So if you could do that, it really, really appreciate it. If you have topics, you can comment in YouTube. On YouTube, you can go to the DCL Fan Facebook page, a whole bunch of people discussing Disney Cruise Line. Or you can just send me an email, chrisv at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. With that, safe travels. We'll see you real soon. Thanks for being here.